Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where it's kind of spring in Michigan. It's 67 degrees out, it's evening, and the sun has just a slight ND filter on it from the clouds. And I've been enjoying this spring weather today, and in fact the last couple of days, in this MANUFAKTUR Patagonia Red 2026 Mercedes-AMG E53 Wagon, the new high-performance estate car from Mercedes. We had a few-year hiatus from the E63 that ended with the W213 generation, and this E53 Hybrid is the first iteration of a performance wagon for the new W214. This is now the third model year of this car, and the last one of these I reviewed was an E450 sedan, and I said in that video at the time that was the top dog, but now we have this. Now, this is not the purebred AMG that you may think it is, and the way that it sort of looks, because we don't have a 63 or an S badge on the back of this. So these days, the E53 badge means that under the hood of this, we have the M256 AMG Enhanced 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 engine. This one is paired with an electric motor and a 21 kilowatt-hour battery. It's got a 9-speed speed shift automatic transmission, I love saying that, and 4MATIC Plus all-wheel drive. So a little bit of a mishmash, kind of a baby AMG, but also the top dog right now. I suppose we're waiting on what may be an E63 in the future. But anyway, combined power output of all of those things, 577 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque, unless you have a car like this with the AMG Dynamic Plus package on it, which gets you 604 horsepower if you're doing a race start. So just driving normally 577, in a race start situation, power is bumped to 604, which just happens to be one more horsepower than the W213 E63. Obviously, torque isn't there. The E63 had well over 600 pound-feet of torque. This has 553. But anyway, I'm just excited because it's a hot wagon, and I love that the US market is kind of warming up to these a bit more. We saw BMW bring the M5 Touring just a couple of years, actually, was it this year? This year or last year? The M5 Touring came here. The RS6 Avant has been here for a few years now, and I was sad when Mercedes discontinued theirs, but now we have this back, and there will probably be another one as well, because wagons are just cool. They're the ultimate dad car, and well, I'm not a dad, but I still think they're cool because they are different. You know, everyone these days goes for a hot SUV if they want something practical to haul their families in, but also have some fun on the weekends and I guess maybe go to the track. I don't know if you do that in an SUV, but this is just sort of the more enthusiast-oriented solution in my eyes. And tonight I'm excited to show you what this is like to live with, but I've also just enjoyed gazing at this car. The design of this new W214 wagon kind of reminds me of the old CLS Shooting Brake, which is a car that we never got in the US, but it's almost the way that they've like coupified this wagon. There aren't really any other ones on the market. The BMW and the Audi definitely don't look like this, and I think it's just such a good look for Mercedes, not to mention the W214 in general is just a beautiful car. Now, this new E53 wagon starts at $93,000. This one, as spec today with that Plus package and a couple of other things, comes up to $116,000. So, you know, if this were a full E63, I'm sure we'd be pushing mid-hundreds, 150, 160, but you save a little bit because that car doesn't exist yet. Anyway, this is my favorite design element of this car, obviously the business end of this, but I think the taillights with the Mercedes star just look fantastic. And let's show you the business end of this. I guess both ends are for business. Would you say this is the party end? I don't know. Anyway, the entire wagon compartment right now is being used as a carrying compartment for its charging cable for the battery, which you charge up here in this little port. I'm getting distracted a bit, but now I want to talk about this. So this is a plug-in hybrid. Obviously that aids in getting us all of the power out of this inline. Obviously that aids in getting us some additional power on top of the inline-6. Now, I mentioned the 21 kilowatt-hour battery. This supposedly can go 41 miles on a charge, but when I've been pulling it off the charger this week, I've been seeing 47 to 48 miles. So I would say that that is a bit more accurate. We've had fair weather this week, but the Germans usually underestimate everything they do. What I found very interesting about this is that you can charge it on level 2 or level 3. This will do 0 to 100 in about 3 hours on level 2, and it'll DC fast charge on level 3 from 10 to 80% in about 20 minutes. So it's pretty normal, but I think it's cool that they give you the option to fast charge this, because since this is from Germany, you know, over in Europe, they have different rules with their hybrid vehicles. So sometimes you have to only run in EV mode when you're in cities and things. Anyway, back to the trunk of the wagon. This sits up pretty high, and this charging cable is sort of pressed down right now, which is good with this cargo net. I took all this out because I thought maybe there'd be stuff under this, but no, this is just sort of the battery under here. So the load surface is quite high, but you do still get about 35 cubic feet of storage when the seats are folded up, but when they're folded down, it goes to 64 cubic feet, which is quite impressive. And that's what wagons are all about. If you're a bicycle enthusiast or something, you could use this for that too. But I suppose now let's go to the other business end of this and talk engine, because I don't want to say it's controversial, but it's different these days. You know, the AMG badge doesn't necessarily mean what it used to, because this is not a hand-built engine. Like I said, this is the M256 enhanced by AMG. So the other wagon version of the W214, the E450 all-terrain, there we go, also has this engine, but it makes quite a bit less power because it doesn't have the electric motor, and it's also not tuned by AMG. But you can see they put their special engine cover on this, and they raise power to 577 and 553 torque. I am mostly excited that Mercedes is back to an inline-6. I know they have been for nearly 10 years at this point, but these all replaced the V6s that they had in the 2000s and 2010s. I love that the roundel on the hood is the AMG logo as well, but then you still get the big star here on the front. And I gotta say, whoever spec'd this car did a really good job, because they didn't put the AMG Night package on it, which means it has tons of chrome, which I like. And speaking of chrome, we have to go to these wheels actually, which are just sort of brushed, I guess. And I mentioned it's spring in Michigan, it's April. It does still sometimes snow, so Mercedes still has this on a snow tire. Important to note for today's video, this will not be handling up to its full capacity if it had its proper 21-inch wheels and summer tires, but our winter setup today, a 265/40 R20 Michelin Alpine 5 on the front, and on the back, it's actually staggered, we have a 295/35 R20, so a little bit of a baby sidewall here on the back, but better than the 21-inch wheels. Even though these don't have the street cred that those do, I feel a little bit safer with the potholes, so I do appreciate that. But keep those in mind when we're doing corners. In the back, operating some of my least favorite door handles on the market, next to the ones on the 992 Porsche 911, you can see the black Nappa leather that we have in this car. Of course, other interior choices are available. And I'm seeing something over on this other door panel right now that looks maybe like a wasp, and I hope it's not. But let's take a look. Nope, it's just a little fuzz hanging down. Okay. Anyway, jumping in the back, where you get a little bit of a sneak peek at the AMG Advanced Sport seats up front, but we'll get to those in a second. Doors feel more bank vault than I remember them feeling on the last W214 I drove, but maybe it's just been 2 years and I forgot. But things feel nice when you close them, not so much when you open them because of the door handles. Anyway, though, when you're back here, you get this silly cup holder solution, which is also a phone holder and an armrest. Room for 3 back here, but the drivetrain hump is pretty big, so I think you probably want to treat this as a 4-seater unless you had a very small child here in the middle. Haptic touch climate panel, which is all yours, and some vents in the middle and on the B-pillars. Always love to see this, and it shows the practical nature of this car. Materials back here are pretty standard. I mean, it's just a black interior, so there's not a whole lot going on, but we do have these beautiful Burmester speaker grills for our Burmester sound system that we will, of course, test for you today, which has a very cool gimmick, actually, that I'm excited to show you. But let's actually listen to these doors here. You just have to operate these door handles with authority, because if not, they're just not, they don't feel great. I understand that they're aerodynamic and stuff, but I don't like them. These have been behaving a little bit better though this week. Up front door panels match the back. We've got our seat controls, obviously heated ventilated seats, but who cares about that when you have these gorgeous advanced sports seats. These are actually the same seats that were in that yellow AMG GT that Emily and I road tripped to Chicago. And we sat in these for about 10 hours combined, and they were fine. You know, they've got plenty of support. Some of the adjustment is in the infotainment, which I don't like. but they're just beautiful seats and they really do the trick. We also have an Alcantara steering wheel in this car, part of that Dynamic Plus package. And there are actually a couple other things I forgot on the outside. There's so much info, so much equipment on this car. I think this is gonna be a long video, so I hope you're settled in and comfortable. But anyway, we have the AMG Ride Control adaptive dampers. We have rear axle steer. Part of this Plus package gets you these red brake calipers with the composite brakes. We have better engine mounts in this car with that package. There's just a whole lot going on. Let's talk about the rest inside. Let's get in, let's start it up, and show you some of the tech and things in this car. First thing you notice is that it tells me Happy Easter. Today is not Easter, it's actually Good Friday, but I suspect this is like a 3-day thing. If you have the graphical goodies turned on, you get the different themes for holidays, which I think is fun. You know, it's cool that Mercedes kind of plays into this tech. You can see all the little Easter eggs here at the bottom, just so fun. And then all of your different icons, those all have little Easter eggs on them and things. So I've been having fun with that today. Actually, one of the last Mercedes I reviewed was a G-Wagon. I reviewed it on Valentine's Day, and it had a bunch of rose petals in here too. So it's just fun stuff for the customer. Now, once you're inside this, you can see there's a lot of screen, and that is because this has the Superscreen package in it, which is just so funny. But it means you get this kind of EQS style screen here, which gets a screen for the passenger. You have this 3D gauge cluster, which we're going to leave off for the video because I don't want to make you guys sick, and I don't want to make myself sick. Massive infotainment screen here in the middle. This is the newest version of the MBUX. We've shown you this before. Most of the cars these days do have this. Of course, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've got my CarPlay paired to this right now. We'll be using it for our sound system test a bit later. But otherwise, this is just normal W214 stuff. We have this open pore wood, big hidden center console here with a wireless phone charger, 2 cup holders, split folding armrest here in the middle. But these Mercedes videos always kind of drag a little bit because there's always so much to show. There's so much tech in here, and I don't think I want to talk about it anymore. So let's just put our seatbelt on and go drive this thing. Something peculiar, actually, I noticed is I built this car in the configurator and it had red seatbelts. This one's got black. I didn't see a note on that on the Monroney, so maybe they ran out of red seatbelts at the factory. Anyway, column shifter. Let's go into reverse. You can see that pulls up our backup camera and 360 camera. Parking brake will automatically disengage, and this is properly quick steering. Now, keep in mind, this has the rear axle steer as well, so your maneuvers do happen more quickly than you may expect sometimes, though somehow the turning circle in this is actually not that great. I was pulling it out of the garage earlier around Emily's car and around another car that I have in the driveway right now, and I didn't make it the first time. I had to back up and go again. I just expected this to have a little bit better turning radius, but whatever. This will always default to starting in electric mode, as it has done right now, and taking advantage of the 46 miles of electric range I still have. When you're in electric mode, this has 161 horsepower, so it's actually enough to move this 5,200 pound wagon out of its own way. It's quite heavy. Obviously, if you hybridize something, it makes it heavier, and it has done here, which is why it actually kind of needs the 604 horsepower in race start, and why you probably should tick the box for the Dynamic Plus package. I think Mercedes has just some of the coolest exterior EV noises. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. Like an alien creeping up on you. And listen again when we take off here in EV mode. And you can actually put your foot to the floor here. This is flat out in EV mode. 55... and there's 60 miles an hour. So it is actually usable. This has a kick down switch. You are able to push out of this and it will default the car into comfort, but we'll go ahead and manually put it into comfort right now, because I would like to use the Inline-6. You know, I like a good Inline-6, and obviously we want to show this off to you guys and show you what all this can do. But I appreciate that this doesn't default you out of EV mode if you just floor the gas. once that Inline-6 does turn on, it is silky smooth, as well as the 9-speed gearbox. I mean, we know this powertrain. We actually had a very similar powertrain in the CLE 53 Cabrio we were driving late last year. Though, of course, that was not an hybrid, but it had the same AMG enhanced engine. The only thing that's a little bit of a bummer is this engine is very quiet. Now, I guess you could look at this as a pro or a con. A pro being the daily driving nature of this car. It's very quiet and reserved, but the fact that it's got an AMG badge on the back, it makes me want just a little bit more. If you do bump it up into Sport, actually Sport Plus, that turns on the volume, it does make a little bit more noise here. We'll manually change gear. Some of it, though, is fake. I think perhaps it's the time of day where we may not be getting any fast corners. Just give this guy plenty of room. You can definitely tell this has the speed shift, and it's interesting that they put this in the E53 since this is kind of an AMG light, but I appreciate that they do because it gives you just that much more thrill. The speed shift is just a great unit. I've always liked it for daily driving as well as performance driving. It does a great job all around. Even when you're using only 577 horsepower, this thing does still scoot pretty well. Okay, let's put traction into Sport. We'll take this corner here and see what this has got. A little bit of understeer there at the limit, and the brakes. Let me tell you, the brakes are the weirdest part of this entire driving experience, and we've seen this in other hybrid Mercedes cars. We saw it in the AMG GT. Oh boy, we're not going to be able to say the M word tonight. Cancel. Never mind.
Pardon.
Never mind.
Can you say that again?
No, never mind. Never mind. Okay, she's gone. We've seen this in other MB cars, right? The brake pedal being kind of squishy, kind of touchy. And it's the same way here in the E53. And this will hold gears, so you do actually have to be on top of it when you are in manual mode. And I've found that this traditional setup, which the rev counter is backwards for some reason, but if you go into the AMG track pace menu, if you can actually get the haptic touch thing to do, no, okay, we're changing the head-up display now. Take me to track pace. There you go, track pace. If you go into track pace, it's easier to kind of tell where the RPMs are. Now, this actually doesn't rev very high. It only goes just over 6,000 RPM. And you do sometimes find yourself desiring to get some more revs out of this. But anyway, put it back into automatic. You can do the race start, which gives you the full 604 horsepower. So why don't we try that now? See what that's like. That hits super hard, and I gotta say, Mercedes nails the theatrics with this. It flashes the ambient lighting, it tensions the seat belt, the way that the car bounces off that soft limiter is just so cool. I mean, they seriously get your emotions going with that race start. No,
Could you say that again?
no, cancel. Yeah, you don't really get a whole lot. I mean, even in Sport Plus, I don't really think this sounds like anything too special. I mean, I think it sounds better than a V6. These dampers tighten up a lot as well in Sport Plus, of course, but I don't think they're too tight. I mean, big bump right there, it forgives. It seriously does. These ride control dampers, they're usually fine for me. I never really have any issues with them. We're not crashing all around here. I do love the track pace gauge cluster. That is a whole lot of fun. Now, inputs when you're on it, you've got pretty instant response, obviously, because of the electric motor in this. The steering is ultra quick. The brakes just really let it down because there's all this squish right at the top. It almost feels like it has a blown brake line or something until you get about halfway into the pedal. Okay, let's do one more race start towards the highway, and then we'll drive in a more civilized fashion, but please allow me to do one more. Oh, those gear changes hit so hard. I love it. On the brakes, you know, I gotta say, even beyond the kind of lackluster pedal feel in this car, the brakes themselves are not really that impressive for being an AMG composite brake. I know this is a big heavy thing, but man, and it may just be kind of simulated by this crappy brake pedal. Anyway, okay, let's explore the wagon part of this now. Let's put this back into comfort mode. I'm gonna put my gauge cluster, reset G-force values. No. I'm going to put my gauge cluster back into classic if I can get it there with these stupid haptic touch buttons. Let me tell you, I've driven a lot of these Mercedes, I've driven a lot of these MB cars at this point, and I never get comfortable with these haptic touch buttons, and they've kind of made it worse for this W214 and a lot of these newer generation cars, because they got rid of the volume knob and all the stuff down here, the little slider that it used to have. It's all haptic touch stuff now. So both of your controls for the volume are haptic, the one on the steering wheel and the one down here to the right. And it's just irritating. And also trying to change the cluster around it. They never know what you're trying to do. I understand it saves space on the wheel, yeah, whatever, but I don't like them. One more complaint about the steering wheel too, the airbag cover is not leather stitched, and this is a $116,000 car with the black Nappa leather package, which means we have the top of the door panels, the top of the dash. Everything in this is wrapped in leather, even the center console, all of it's wrapped in leather. Center of the airbag, plastic. Don't like it. I don't think it matches with this interior, and also, if you're paying that much money, give me leather. I think that it's like an S-Class thing. I've complained about this in more expensive cars. I know I have, but I don't remember if it was the GT or if it was the SL63 or what it was, but it's just unacceptable in this car. So anyway, we're in comfort mode right now. This does this weird thing where when you lift off the throttle, it applies the brakes, which, look at this Acura CL Type S. My goodness, my merge has been distracted, but it's okay. What a beautiful specimen. It's actually quite a nice one too. Well, it's got a little bit of rust on the side. That's okay. Still a cool car. Anyway, what was I saying? This does this weird thing. You lift your foot off the accelerator and it almost feels like it's one pedal driving without you asking it to. You can see there's a little icon there. It's just gone away, but it senses when you're coming up on a car or coming up to an intersection, and it kind of aids you with the brakes in the way of regenerating energy to the battery. But the first couple of times it does it, it's a little bit jarring because you don't always expect it, because it doesn't always do it. It's only sometimes. So you don't know if you lift your foot off the accelerator, sometimes the car will brake, sometimes it won't. But once you're actually on the highway driving this, going down the road, we talked about these seats being quite comfortable. The only thing that's annoying is if you want to adjust the lumbar or the bolsters, it's 1, 2, 3 clicks to do this. I've got my bolsters up to level 5. Those hug me in pretty well. And I've got my lumbar out to level 3. It's so serene in here. This is the Pinnacle Trim car, which means we have the thermally and noise insulated glass thing. So it's quieter in here. Let's try out our cruise control, shall we? Oh, it was already on. Let's set it. This has just a pretty normal, just adaptive cruise control system. Does the trick. I'm curious, actually, if this has... It does. This has steering assist, and I think it'll actually change lanes. Okay. It does automatically without you asking it to. Okay, well there you go. That answers my question right off the bat. I got this car from TheTopher this week. He drove it for the first half. He always turns stuff like that off because he hates when cars steer for you. I think actually we can get this to go past this person and we can do another lane change. I think if I just ask it to do a lane change, it will do one as well. Lane change to the right. There it goes, into an exit lane. Okay, we are cooking right now. We're going to turn all this off. Mercedes has had one of my favorite cruise control systems for a while. First experienced this in the current generation S-Class a few years ago. And I really think it's the gold standard as far as lane change assist goes, apart from a system that's a little bit more advanced like Super Cruise or Blue Cruise. I like how you don't have to have your hands on the wheel to do a lane change. It does everything for you. Obviously you have to be watching the road, and you guys see the little infrared scanners there in the cluster, which I can't see with my naked eye, but you can. What's our first stop today? I haven't had dinner yet. I would quite like to go have a poke bowl, so I think that's what we're going to do first. And just see how this is for eating, I guess. Anyway, though, let's test kickdown in comfort mode. It does plant your head to the back of the seat, and then when you lift off, it slows you down. It will hold gears as well. It's not just immediately upshifting. Other touch points in this car are super nice as well. Obviously the Alcantara wrapped steering wheel we love. And then the split folding center console, that has a very nice squishy surface for the elbow, as well as the door panel. I would say equally squishy on both fronts. And even though this leather stitched center console is a bit hard, there's not really a lot of give to it, it's small enough and out of the way enough that it doesn't bother me. My leg is never really resting on it. It's just kind of out of the way. All right, let's put this into Sport Plus, manual. Oh, I feel like we're back doing another summer video. Okay, not a bad performance there. Something I seriously love about this, look at that Focus RS. Something I seriously love about this is how low you can get down with these AMG advanced seats. I've got this in its absolute, actually I was gonna say head in its lowest setting, but I don't. I'm about half an inch from the floor. I love a sports inspired car that lets me sit basically on the floor, and that applies to wagons, SUVs, anything. If I'm in a seat like this, I want to be sitting low down, and I love that they give me that option here. Setting off now in EV mode. Oh my goodness. Off-roading. This desperately needs paved. All right, we're going to use our rear axle steer to negotiate this. Use our ground clearance that we have. We're good. Honestly, throttle response feels about the same in EV mode as it does in ICE mode. So you're pretty comfortable there no matter what powertrain you're using. And also, this electric motor, it goes through the 9-speed, so you actually feel it shifting gears. This doesn't just have like a completely independent unit in the back. It's all sort of in one. Okay, I need to vent for just a second. This drives me nuts more than anything. When you've got a line of cars lined up with their hazards on, when, look at all these empty spots. There's just a sea of empty spots over here that any of those people could have used. But no, they choose to block half of the road. Anyway, let's use our parking cameras here to get into this very nice end spot. Super high quality cameras, reversing and 360, help you get into those lines with no problem. We'll get these windows all rolled up. Parking brake is down here by your left knee, which, I don't know, I never really loved parking brakes right there, but with this console design, they have nowhere to put it. And we will turn this off. Let's show you what this looks like in a parking spot. Highlighting the back of this right now because it is a wagon. Oh, such a pretty car. But fits just fine. You know, it's a little bit of a long vehicle, but no longer than something like this massive Suburban that's pulling into the spot right now. So you'll live with this. Okay, I'm gonna run in and get some dinner, and we'll come back out and we will conclude this as we drive into the city. Walking back up to the E53 wagon with this Pokeball that I seriously cannot wait to eat. I want to see if these door handles will just pop out. Ah, they have. You see, okay, these have been quite obedient this week and I haven't really had any problem with them. My only complaint still is just kind of how cheap they feel, but whatever, at least I'm not fighting to get them to come out of the doors. Ingress and egress, honestly not too bad, even into these bucket seats right here. And look at this, that will stay. That will stay right there. Oh, except it can't because I need to open it for my cup holder here, so this will have to go here on the split folding armrest. That is okay. And we're actually going to start this up. Happy Easter. Because it will sit here in electric mode. I've got 44 miles of EV range. And I don't have to sit here and idle the engine while I eat. And I can have all of my things on. Which, by the way, okay, I meant to say something about this earlier. With this Superscreen package, keen-eyed viewers will have noticed this camera pointing at us here on the dashboard. You get what Mercedes calls the selfie cam. I swear I'm not making this up. And you can go into your MBUX over here on the left and click camera. And you can see a live view of the cockpit. There I am, an angle of me that you don't usually see, just in time for me to have actually this massive zit on my chin. But I could sit here and watch myself eat this Pokeball, or actually the main reason for this and what I see this doing is for professionals who are in meetings. Because if you go back again here, you can see you can do meetings in here. It's got Teams, so you could be driving to work in your E53 AMG. You could flex the sport seats. Just picture this now, okay? You're driving somewhere, somebody calls you on Teams, and this is what they see. They see that seat. They know that you're serious businessman. Okay, anyway, I'm going to eat this Pokeball, and then we'll finish our journey today into the sunset. Golden hour has fallen. I think the sun is it's just getting ready to set in the next 10 minutes. And I wanted to show off this ambient lighting with this new feature where it pulsates to the music. So the next part of this drive will be the sound system test here of the Burmester. And of course, we have our ambient lighting in ultramarine because that is my favorite. So let's go ahead and play this and we'll see what this does. How about that? So it seems like it's a bit more accurate when there's more defined kind of punches from the bass. But overall, that's kind of cool. I don't know that it's something I would leave on. In fact, I'm about to turn it off, but it's called sound visualization. Mostly because I want my full brightness on my ultramarine ambient lighting, which, by the way, this is not even full brightness. This is only 50% of the way up. This is level 10 of 20 for brightness. Level 20, it's kind of a jump scare when it turns on. It's so bright, but I guess if you want to be able to see it during the day, then that's just what you have to do. But I'm excited that the sun has gone down. I guess it's kind of cloudy at this point too, but we can show you this ambient lighting, which really is not as crazy as some past Mercedes models, because it really only has this one major strip that goes on top of the dash, and then it's got some down here on the console as well. But the middle of the dashboard is so focused on this, what do they call it, the Superscreen, that you don't really have anything else. So we can kind of cycle through some of these colors. In fact, it suggests colors, so it's wanting me now to go into Miami Rose, which is one that I enjoy. I like some Miami Rose from time to time. And you can go in here, you can change these pretty easily. I don't always like to do it while I'm driving, because you have to take Thank you so much. Because you have to take your eyes off the road. Red Moon is one that I love too. The cycle between the blue and red. Car and Driver was complaining about the ride quality in this. I don't know who they're putting in these cars to evaluate ride quality, but I'm wondering if they have any cartilage in their spine. This is just in electric mode because I'm going into a city, so this is the way that I drive this car if I'm not going on the highway or showing off performance for a video. And it's fine. Like, you don't even really notice that you're in electric. Obviously the car defaults to it, so you just start driving, and when you're driving normal, it's got plenty of power, plenty of torque to just do the stuff. And that's what's so cool about these plug-in hybrid performance-oriented cars, because they have the convenience of the electric motor, but also they give you that boost of the extra power and the extra torque to make the car more thrilling. So in many ways, this is lovely. Plus it's a wagon, so it's just kind of the best of both worlds. You've got this really cool performance sedan, which is actually an estate. And imagine being in the pickup line at school. I don't have children, but I try to put myself in the Topher's shoes. I just imagine that you'd be the coolest dad pulling up in this E53 wagon. Just such a cool thing. All right, well, we're going to wrap up here in this parking structure because I think this video's been too long already. And if you stuck around for this long, I do very much appreciate it. Super quiet window motors. Very easy to maneuver this thing in. While this has a very limited amount of buttons, it does actually have one to launch your cameras.
From the screen menu. Welcome. Please proceed into the lot.
I think it's cool that wagons are back in the United States, and this is not new for 2026, you know, seeing wagons. They've kind of been around now for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in this sort of performance division across the board. And I really hope that we continue to embrace these. But this car is lovely beyond even being a wagon. I love this Inline-6 powertrain, though I do wish it sounded like something a little bit more. I'm sure there are aftermarket exhausts available. But most of this car, about 90% of it, I seriously love. Most of the stuff that you touch in here feels very nice. The Burmester sounds awesome. I mean, we listened to it earlier, and we kind of just focused on the lights, but the sound quality here is fantastic. I don't like the door handles, I don't like the middle of the steering wheel, and I don't like the brake pedal, but everything else in this is just about perfect. It seriously is. And I applaud Mercedes for kind of holding strong on keeping a performance wagon for the W214. Look at this now, this beautiful, beautiful sunset lighting. One last look here, you can see our Mercedes puddle lights, see our illuminated grille and our DRLs, and I hope these taillights are lit up as well. Door handles light up, lots of cool lighting elements on this. Man, that is just such a cool look here on the back of this car. But all right, well, I hope that's been cohesive enough for you guys, this little living with video here with the W214 E53 wagon. If you have any questions on this, please do sound off in the comments, and either a commenter or myself will get back to you. But I've had a lovely week with this so far. I think it's just a great thing, and I love wagons, and I love red, so this has just been a very tasteful experience for me this week. But thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you shared the appreciation for wagons as well. I'm sure you do if you're watching this video, but that will be a wrap on this one, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.